Hey y'all, I'm Tracy. Welcome to Just Dig It Farms. I'm in my greenhouse today, so let's start some herb seeds together. Before we get started sowing our herb seeds together, there's been quite a few of you asking me for my seed sowing schedule. About 3 or 4 videos ago, I shared about how I was organizing my seed plan for the whole year and how I was getting a seed starting schedule down to a science, down to exact of when I need to sow what, to be able to have it ready in time to go in the garden. It seems like I'm always a little late or a little too early, or my timing just hasn't been just right. And one of my goals this year is to get my seed starting schedule down to perfect timing for my area. I am in Central Alabama. I'm zone 8. But your zone is really not what you're concerned about when you're starting seeds. What you need to know to start your seeds and your seed sowing schedule is your first and last frost date. So my last frost date is March the 17th. And that's the frost date that I need to be concerned about right now on the seeds that I'm starting now. My last frost date is November the 11th. And that's the frost date that I'm going to be looking at when I'm sowing my fall and winter vegetables. We have almost 238 growing days here in Central Alabama. So we can grow vegetables and fruit and herbs 3 seasons out of the year, spring, summer, and fall. And depending on our winter, how mild it is, we can grow into the winter. I mean, there's so many different things that we can grow. It's usually about January and February that is kind of dead, where we're really not growing, producing a lot of fruit or vegetables or herbs. But January and February is when we're sowing seeds and we're getting ready for the spring garden. So gardening is year round here in Central Alabama, and I absolutely love it. I live to be in the garden. I love to grow fruit and vegetables and herbs. I love to have my hands in the soil and to be amongst flowers and herbs and anything growing. I live for it. For the overall, I pretty much know when to be starting what, but I'm trying to get it down to exact timing. I'm really going to work on mastering this year. I'm taking a lot of notes as I'm doing it. I'm watching a lot of different videos from Hoss Tools. They are excellent. Every week they have a video that tells you what you should be doing in your garden at this time, what you should be sowing, what you should be planting, what you should be doing. Just about every week they tell you what to do. So you definitely want to go check them out and watch the Row by Row show, and you will get a wealth of knowledge just watching their show and learning from Hoss. When I get this mastered, I'm going to do a printout on my website that you can go to, and you can print that out and you can have it for next year. Hopefully, that is my plan. I shared with y'all in a couple of videos ago about how I'm trying to create systems on our farm to help me better manage everything. And one of the things that I'm doing is I have taken our whole farm and divided it up into zones. And each day of the week gets a zone. Thursday afternoons is the greenhouse, so our sowing seeds. So I'm going to be in here sowing seeds every Thursday, and I plan to do some footage with you guys and show you what I'm sowing when I'm sowing it. So far what I have sown already, the seeds that I've gotten started, are on week 2 of January, which is actually 9 weeks before my last frost date. I sowed some carrots. Now that is something that's really not recommended, that you sow carrots in seed trays. The carrots really don't like their roots disturbed, and they're better to direct sow them. But I'm trying a little experiment, and I'm sowing some in my seed trays right now just to get a jump start on it. I'm gonna see how it goes. I did it a couple of years ago and it actually worked out really well. So I thought I would give that a shot again this year. Now I am going to direct sow my carrots also about around the 10th or 15th or so of February. Okay, so I have done the carrots. I did the broccoli, cabbage, Brussels, and cauliflower. Brussels, see, I really should have did that like week 1 of January, because Brussels take so long. Brussels and artichoke. I should have done that like week 1, but I didn't get out here, so I did it week 2. So I did carrots, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels. I did some hollyhocks, and on the medicinal herb seed collections, I did my echinacea. I did peppermint, passion flower, hyssop, and yarrow, and pretty much all of those are coming up. My peppermint did not germinate too good. I've got just like a little tiny couple of them coming up, and I think it's because the seed is so super tiny on mint seed. And I think when I watered, I think they just got pushed too far down into the soil. So I don't know how those are going to do, but everything else come up really, really well. The passion flower, I've got probably about 30% germination of what I did. So I don't know exactly what I did wrong there, but I do have some coming up. And passion flower is a vine, a pretty vigorous vine. It's native here for us. And I really only need a few anyway. So I'm very pleased with that. But the yarrow, the echinacea, and the hyssop, gangbusters. It did great. So that's what I've got sown so far. That was on week 2 of January. So now on week 3 and 4, this is what I've been working on. My mother-in-law came out and helped me sow some seeds the other day, and we did kale, lettuces, beets, spinach, and collards. I've still got to do my kohlrabi and my Chinese cabbages. And today I'm going to be doing quite a few herbs from the seed collection, but I've also got some other herbs that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to sow marjoram, marshmallow, oregano, dill, valerian, and the rest of these are from the collections. So I've got lemon balm, sage, feverfew, spilanthes, hops, and mullein. So those are the herbs that I'm going to be sowing today. But that's what I've got so far for January. Now, we're moving into February because by the time y'all see this video, we're going to be into February. So February, week 1, what I've got on my schedule to sow, and this is all indoors so far. I'm going to do more. I'm also doing succession sowing. So like on lettuces, yeah, I did those, 3 or 4 days ago, but I'm going to do them again about every 2 weeks. I'm sowing some of these things because I want to keep succession going on them. So for the first week in February, it's going to be more lettuce, more spinach, kale, beets, cabbage, chard. I'm going to sow my chard, and it's going to be time to start sowing peppers and eggplants at that time, the first week in February, which is 6 weeks before my last frost date. So peppers and eggplant, they take a pretty good while to germinate and get going. So I'm going to get those going. My flowers, I'm going to start sowing some marigolds and some alyssum. And then my herbs, I'm going to be doing calendula, borage, chives, parsley, holy basil, roselle, bee balm, catnip, sweet basil, and I'm going to sow some dandelions. And I know y'all are going to say, are you crazy? You're going to sow dandelions? Because for a lot of people, they're weeds, and they're always pulling them out of their garden or whatever. But dandelion is a super food. It is a great, great herb. You can eat every part of the herb, and it is a liver detox. I mean, it has so many great, wonderful medicinal properties. And the thing is I can't find any dandelion growing on this whole farm. Like, I have foraged, I have searched for it, I can't find it. I want to grow some dandelion because it is a excellent herb to have in your medicine cabinet, and it's an excellent herb to have just to eat. So I have a sweet YouTube viewer named Xavier that sent me some dandelion seeds from her garden. She sent me a bunch of cool seeds. Some of these things, like, I have never heard of. So I'm super excited to give them a try. But she sent me some dandelion seeds from her yard, and she sent me some, she ordered me some dandelion seeds from Baker Creek. So I am super excited to start these. Look at this cool thing. She sent me a blue shrimp plant. That is super cool. I've only seen like the peach colored and the yellow. So I am excited to try to grow this. Okay, so she sent me some dandelion seeds. I'm definitely going to be sowing those in February. I want to get those started for sure. Now, as far as direct sowing in February, I'm going to be direct sowing some sweet peas and I'm going to direct sow some carrots. Then we move into week 2 of February, and I'm going to be doing my tomatoes. I'm going to start tomatoes then. And direct sowing or planting actually will be potatoes. It's going to be time to start planting my potatoes, white potatoes, red potatoes, yellow potatoes, and asparagus crowns. If you can get your hands on asparagus crowns, February is when you want to plant those crowns. A good thing to remember that I've always referred to is Valentine's Day. It's time to start planting your potatoes and your asparagus. Now that's just white potatoes. That's not your sweet potatoes. They're going to come later on, like around the end of May, about May 15th to June 1st or so. That's when you're going to start planting your sweet potatoes, because the soil needs to be a lot warmer for them. So that kind of gets us through where you should be right now as far as what's been sown in January and what to start getting ready to sow in February. So let's get started sowing our herb seeds. The first thing we're going to start with is the herbs from the Medicinal seed collections from Hoss. And these are all seeds that I've had in my refrigerator going through the cold stratification process, getting those cold temperatures that they need. The only one that I'm ready to do today is the hops. It's been in there long enough so I can get these sown. Now, all of these are different kinds of poppies. Poppies is a flower / herb that needs those cold temperatures. And usually what I like to do is I like to sow my poppy seeds around November, December, even into the first part of January. You can direct sow poppy seeds in ground and let them go through the winter, through those cold temperatures, and then spring you'll have those beautiful flowers. A lot of your wildflowers that bloom early spring actually need the cold temperatures, and it's usually best to sow those seeds in fall or early winter. So that would be things like your larkspurs and poppies and bachelor buttons, cornflowers, Johnny jump ups. So I did sow some of the poppy seeds in the garden around November, I think. But I also have all of these poppies and I wanted to try it. I wanted to just experiment, so I put these in the refrigerator, and I'm going to sow those in trays, and I'm going to put them on the germination mat to get them to germinate, and then I'm just going to bring them out here in the greenhouse. I'm also going to start some trays without doing the cold stratification process and without putting them on the heat mat, and I'm just going to sow them in a tray, and I'm just going to sit them over here in the greenhouse, and we're going to see how it happens. We're going to see what works. But a really easy way to grow poppies in central Alabama here is just to sow the seeds, direct sow the seeds around November, December, first part of January. So the first thing that we're going to do is the hops. And hops is a really cool plant. It is really neat. It's actually a vine, a very vigorous vine, like 20 to 30 feet or so that it can grow. And it makes these cool little cone-like flowers on it. And that is the medicinal part of the plant. And you just, oh yeah. Oh, I did a lot of them. And we don't need a lot because it's a very vigorous vine. But you're going to just put it in here and just kind of press it in. Barely make sure it's covered with your soil. Don't over cover it. Just kind of press it into the soil and make sure there's some soil coverage over it. Hops is probably mostly known for making beer. That's what you make beer out of. But it has many medicinal value and purposes to it. So you can make a tea out of it. It's really good for digestive issues and anxiety. It's like a sedative. It's a really calming herb. It helps with nervousness, anxiousness, tension, all those kind of things. So you can make a tea out of it. You can also make a tincture out of it. So I have never grown hops before. I've never grown it. And I don't know where I'm going to grow it this year because I don't really have trellises up yet to grow it. I'm going to figure out something, and I'm going to grow this hop vine because I feel like I really need it in my life and in my garden. So I have a plan for my potager garden, and I know those of you who have followed us for a while, y'all have heard my plan multiple times, and one day it will come to fruition and happen. But my plan is to build a fence around this whole potager garden. We desperately need a fence around this garden. I want to, right now my chickens are out free ranging because I don't have a lot of things in the garden to worry about. So anytime that the garden's not producing a lot, I let my chickens out and let them free range. Well, I want to be able to let them free range all the time. So I want to get a fence up around this potager garden so my chickens can just be free and they can free range. Also, we have serious problems with armadillo. We have deer. We have, there's hogs. There's wild hogs in our area. Now, I've only had wild hogs come up here once, and Jean thought I had tilled up a spot for a garden area, and it was actually wild hogs tilled up a spot. But I've never had them up here since, but it's a possibility. So I want to get a fence around this whole potager garden for those reasons, just to help keep animals out, like my dogs. Clyde he dug up my garden this fall. Just about everything I planted, he was right behind me digging it up. So, you know, there's a lot of reasons why I need a fence around my garden. But one of the cool reasons that I'm going to have I want a fence around my garden, I'm going to use the fence to grow vegetables, fruits, herbs like hops and passion flower and different herbs, roses. Of course, we got to have roses on the trellises. So, like, it's just going to be, my vision is it's going to be a beautiful fence around the whole potager garden eventually. It's going to be like 6x6 post or 4x4 post. I don't really know. And it's going to be cattle panel trellises, and they're going to be tall fencing because of the deer and such. So it's going to, I think what we're going to do is like a cattle panel running this way and a cattle panel running this way, kind of overlapping it. And then I'm going to be growing all of these lovely things and wonderful food and herbs and flowers on those trellises, so it's going to make like living walls all around this garden. And you all know how much everything costs these days, so I don't know like how much we're going to be able to get done this year, but it's in our plan. So I've got 3 major things that I want to take place in the potager garden this year. That is irrigation. We still have not got our irrigation set up out here, and I hope that we can get that done. And I'm getting new bed borders for the beds. If you've been following us very long, you know that we had a bad tornado storm come through here probably about 3 years ago, I guess. And we took the fallen trees and we made borders around my beds with the logs, the tree logs. And they've lasted me about 3 years now. They've lasted me, but they're all starting to rot, which we knew they were going to do that, and that really actually was part of the plan, because that's just getting put back into the garden. So it, you know, it's really a cool thing. It's mimicking what happens out in the forest and in nature. And but it's time to replace those. It's time to replace a lot of those trees and logs because they've all rotted, and I need my borders to be defined. That's what helps me keep weeds from creeping over into my beds. So I've got to get new borders put around all of my beds, and I'm going, we've got a source for that. I'll share that with y'all a little bit later in another video, but we're gonna be picking those up here in the next 2 weeks, I think. So I'm excited to get that done. So my top 3 things that I want to happen in the potager this year is new bed borders, irrigation, and the fencing around the garden. And that may not, like, the whole thing probably is not going to get done. The whole fencing is probably not going to get done this year, but I want to at least get a really good start on it. Man, I am sowing a lot of hop seeds here, and I am not going to need all of these hop plants. But I have plenty of friends that may want to grow some hops. Okay, the next thing I'm going to start is from the premium collection, and it is mullein. Mullein is an excellent herb. It's in the mallow family. It's an excellent herb for respiratory issues, congestion, bronchitis, asthma, any kind of lung issues. Mullein's really good for that. It is a mucilaginous, so it helps to break up that congestion and all that kind of stuff. This is super tiny seed. Look how teeny tiny this seed is. So amazing. Isn't it just amazing how a plant like mullein, how big it gets, the leaves on it are giant, it gets really tall, really beautiful, and it comes from a tiny little seed like this. It's just mind-blowing, really. But what I'm going to do with these now, I'm just going to I'm going to sprinkle a few. I can divide them out. But I'm just sprinkling them on the surface of the soil, and then I'm just going to press it in. I'm definitely not going to bury these too deep, because this is super tiny seed. So you can make a tea out of mullein. You can also roll it up and smoke it and get it into your lungs. It was used by the Native Americans. They would roll it up and smoke it after they smoked maybe a little bit too much of their peace pipe. They would smoke some mullein to clean and clear their lungs. So it's very cool, got a lot of history behind it. You can use every part of this plant. You can use the root, you can use the leaves, you can use the flowers. Now, mullein is a biennial, so that means your first year it's going to be developing its roots and its vegetation. The second year, it'll start developing its flowers. The cool thing about it is every stage of the plant, you can use it. So the leaves, you can use those. You can make a poultice out of them. You can make the tea out of them. You could smoke them. The flowers is really good to make like an ear oil out of, and that helps with earaches and such. So mullein is a powerful plant. It is not native here, but it grows wild along our ditches and all along the sides of the road. So it's definitely one you could wild forage, but I like to grow it and have it in my garden. What I didn't mention about mullein, with it being a biennial, is after it produces its flowers, it's going to die out. But you just let it reseed. It reseeds heavily, and it'll keep spreading, and you'll have it all in your garden. Let's see. The next one we're going to do is in the deluxe collection. And let's do lemon drop, spilanthes, toothache plant. It has multiple names. It's also called buzz buttons, electric daisies. Many different names to this plant. Tiny seeds again. The cool thing about the spilanthes or toothache plant is first of all, it's gorgeous in the garden. It's absolutely beautiful in the garden. It makes a beautiful ground cover. The flower on it is just amazing. It's really, really pretty. But it's really great as a painkiller. You can take and chew on the leaf or the flower, really, and it'll start making you drool. It numbs your mouth, gives you that tingly, numb feeling in your mouth, and it's really good to help with toothaches. And the great thing about this too is it's also antiseptic and antimicrobial, I believe. And it not only will it help take the pain away of an ulcer or toothache or whatever, but it will also help heal any kind of infection that's going on. So it's a really good one to have, especially as a pain reliever. Really good to have. This one is also from the deluxe, and it is lemon balm. Woo, lemon balm is an amazing herb. It is in the mint family, so it will spread pretty vigorously in your garden, just like mint does, but it's not, you can control it a little bit more. If you harvest the flowers or you cut the flowers off before they're allowed to completely go to seed and spread, then it won't be as bad. Now, it also does spread and multiply by root, so it will spread in your garden pretty good. But lemon balm, you can't have too much lemon balm in my opinion. It is really a great herb, good for digestive, good for calming. It's been called the gladdening herb because it just uplifts your spirits. It vigor and vitality, and just uplifts your spirits and just makes you happy when you smell it. And it's just a really good herb for calming and for digestive issues and all. So lemon balm's a great one to have. I like to make a tea out of it. And I made this wonderful blend of lemon balm, chamomile, hyssop, peppermint, and I added something else. What was it? Elderflowers. I had some elderflowers left over from when I harvested them, and I added them. That was such a delicious tea, and it just calmed me and soothed me. It was really, really good. Really good tea. All right, these are tiny seed, and I'm just kind of sprinkling them, not too many, but sprinkling a few on the thing. And then I'm just going to press them in. The next one I'm going to do is also from the Deluxe Collection, and it is sage, Salvia officinalis, broadleaf sage, or it's also known as garden sage. There's tons of different plants in the salvia family. A lot of different beautiful perennial salvias, but this one is Salvia officinalis, and it is a garden sage, a culinary sage. Sage is a great culinary herb that we usually think of when we think of Thanksgiving dinner, Thanksgiving turkey, dressing, adding it to sausages, that kind of thing. But it's delicious culinary wise, but it's also very, very useful medicinally. Sage is a good herb for mastitis, for different women issues, menopausal issues. It's a calming herb. It's a grounding herb. It just helps to keep you calm and to keep you grounded and in balance. It's great to make a tea out of, a sage tea. Sage and lemon balm, that's a great combination together. It's absolutely gorgeous in the garden too. It's so pretty. It has these fuzzy, big, gray-green colored leaves, and it shoots up beautiful purple blooms. And those purple blooms, a lot of your pollinators, beneficials love them. So sage is a really great one to have in your garden, a good one to have in your spice cabinet, and it's also an excellent one to have in your medicine cabinet. Okay. The next one I'm going to do is from the Premium Collection, and it is Feverfew. Feverfew is from the Asteraceae family or daisy family, and it looks like a little daisy. It's really a cute little flower. Beautiful in the garden, really cute little flower. Now, what I found out from growing Feverfew, it does not like our heat. If you put this plant out where it gets, the chickens are just having so much fun. They're eating up all the bugs in the garden for me, getting it ready for spring, aren't you girls? I planted Feverfew couple of different times in the sun, and it just burned the leaves. It just like singed the leaves. So it does not like being in full blazing sun. Maybe like a dappled sun situation. It needs some sun, but that hot afternoon sun in Alabama, it was just way too much for it. So I've got a really good place. I think I've figured out where I'm going to grow it this year. I'm going to grow it under that Florida sugar maple that's in the middle of my garden there. So I hope it's going to do better there. Feverfew, great herb. Great. It says it in its name. It helps to reduce fevers, but it's also really good for migraines. It's really good for headaches. You can make a great tea out of it. You can make a tincture out of it. It's good for headaches. It's good for migraines. It's anti-inflammatory, so it can help with some skin issues like redness and irritation in your skin. It can help with toothaches. It can help with arthritis. It's a really good pain relieving medicine to have. Really pretty in the garden. That's all of the medicinal herbs that I'm going to be doing today from the Halls collections, but I have a few other herbs that I'm also going to be sowing. A lot of the other herbs that I'm going to be sowing today, I'm going to be using old seed. So I don't know how well it's going to do, but I'm going to give it a try. I've got some dill here. I've got some parsleys. I've got the flat leaf and the curly. And I've got some different oreganos. I've got white flowered Greek and just the heirloom Italian. And I'm going to do some marjoram. But these are all old seed, so I don't know how well they're going to do. I'm going to do marshmallow. This is not old seed, so it should do well. I already have a lot of it growing in the garden, or I did have. And I don't know how it's going to fare through that bad Arctic blast we had where it killed a lot of my stuff in my garden. So I want to make sure I have that going. And I'm going to do valerian. Valerian is, I tried this a couple of years ago and it did not do well. It just didn't take off. It didn't do well. So I'm going to give it a try again because this is supposed to be really good for menopausal issues. I do need to make a disclaimer here. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a pharmacist. I'm not a nurse. I'm not a herbal doctor. I've self-studied and I've taken a lot of different classes, but I am by no means a medical practitioner at all. I am not an herbal doctor at all. I am just sharing with you guys what I do. I'm sharing with you how to grow these herbs and how I use these herbs in our life, in my family, and in our daily life. I am not recommending that you do anything. If you are taking medications, if you are under a doctor's care and you're taking medications, you do need to advise your doctor before you start using any herbal remedies outside of what was recommended or what you do, because certain herbs can interact with medications and can cause you more problems, just like turmeric. Turmeric can lower your blood pressure, but if you already have low blood pressure and you're on medication for that, it's going to have an adverse effect. So please do your own research, do your own study, take care and caution over your health and your issues, and please advise talk to your doctor, get their advice of whether you should take this herb or not, or what it will do. Does it have any effects with any medications that you're taking? I am not a medical professional at all. I am a gardener, I'm a designer, and I am not a professional at all when it comes to herbal medicine. So please take care and caution in what you're doing and in what you're using. I am just strictly sharing with you how to grow these herbs and the uses and the benefits. And herbs has so many wonderful medicinal benefits and properties for your body, and I believe that there's an herb out there for almost every single ailment that you have. But I am not telling you to stop seeing a physician. I'm not telling you to go 100% into herbs and don't take your medications and don't go see a doctor. I'm not telling you to do that at all, because I believe there's a balance there. We are in a time where we have modern medicine, we have wonderful technology and modern medicine available to us. We are blessed to have that. And I believe, if it comes down to it and you need to go to a doctor, then you need to go to a doctor. Herbs is more of a preventative type thing. It's more of something that you would apply in your everyday life to prevent health issues. But I am enjoying being on this herbal journey with you guys and sharing with you what I do know and what, how to grow the herbs and how to use different ways to use them and apply them in your life. I am truly enjoying being on this journey with you, and I hope y'all are. And I am looking forward to a fabulous year of us growing our own medicine together and learning more and more and more about herbs and how we can use them in our life. All right, you guys, so I am going to finish sowing those herbs I was just telling you about. I've still got to get my kohlrabi and my Chinese cabbage in, and I'm going to sow these poppy seeds. We'll take a look at these poppy seeds on our next video, and I'll tell you which ones I'm growing. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I hope you're able to start sowing some seeds and getting ready for your spring garden. God bless you. I will see y'all on the next video.